I'm going to read you a text I wrote. It's called Software. Software, with A, is material that informs a computer. Software, with EA, is fabric that forms a lifestyle. The future of work is destined to change. In order to economize time and money and maximize energy and productivity, we will begin to work a certain amount of time at home in our own thinking space. Taking advantage of reduced and flexible working hours, we will have increased freedom to nourish our minds and bodies, to give and take inspiration from the society we are part of. This is very true in the Netherlands, where on Wednesday afternoon and Fridays, the offices are all empty. I remember in the Design Academy there was nobody there. Our home offices will be composed of pillows and armchairs, portable computers, phones and plants. While we conduct research on the internet or prepare a paper for publishing, soup can simmer, children can play, and friends can stop by for a coffee break. As we begin to take time for ourselves, to be more present at home, we realize that a career does not have to be made in an office environment, and will begin to achieve a new feeling of balance and creativity. With the softening of lines between work and leisure will come a need for new clothing and interiors, not to mention other consumer products and services. Garments will need to conform to this major lifestyle change by developing fabrics that are highly comfortable yet eminently elegant, in both natural and high-tech materials and mixes. Jersey and knit textiles will be of capital importance, for in fabric terms they describe the tactility we seek. Software is more than just a trend. This forecast heralds the coming of a major new industry, not only in clothing but also in interiors, design, gardening, hardware, retail, consumer products, communications. The possibilities are far-ranging, and as of yet, no company has begun to respond to these inevitable, eminent needs. Indeed, software will be as important and widespread as sportswear, and the demand for it is already there now. This was written in 1998. So the purpose of this exhibition is to tell you that trends are very slow, and that it takes a very long time to prepare new products, new vision, new colors, new textiles, new foods, new services, and that whoever says that trends are going fast has really not understood what it's all about. Major trends are getting slower and slower, sometimes up to 50 years. And what we do then is, during the time of gestation, we try to crystallize this trend, and we talk about it in new ways and new ways and new ways, on its way to becoming a real desire of consumers. So it's funny that in my job, which I have been doing since I was 21, so that's a long stretch, I see that trends are even slowing down more. And they will slow down, I think, in the future considerably, because many products will be designed by algorithms and artificial intelligence, which is then based on data from consumers. So this will slow the process even more down. So newness is no longer maybe also a necessity. In any case, when I visited with Philip the offices of Google to give a lecture and to speak with the people who are developing the jacquard, you know, they have wired textiles, which is called the Jacquard project, which is very funny because the Jacquard was the first computer in a certain way, so the future of computers sort of comes back to the beginning of. They showed us the design team, which is a very gifted team, mostly of, with a lot of Scandinavian and Asian designers. with the fantastic director Ivy Ross. She's a friend also. I know her for a long time. She's been working with Mattel. So we worked with Barbie together. That was very much fun. And then she worked at Gap. So we worked on clothing. That was a bit boring. And now she's at Google, so it's interesting again because they do very interesting research. And she showed us the products, and we were in awe because it was very unusual for electronic products. They were colorful, they were gentle, they were round, they were tactile. They were made in textile, which for me was, the dream come true, because I'm a textile freak and I believe that the future will be textile, so they are doing it. And that made that the tactility of the materials is very interesting. And they were, for the first time, actually doing this type of products. So much later than Apple and everybody else. So they are sort of catching up, if you want. It's not important, of course, in their company, because compared to all the other big departments, this is sort of peanuts. But it's nice that there is another phone than the Apple phone, I think. That there is choice is good. And we said, immediately we said, this is something you should show in Milan, because you should show it not in one of these big high-tech conferences, but you should show it as a design product, in a design context. And you should show it amongst your peers, amongst designers. And so, evidently, the first thought we had was that they should go to Rosanna, because there everybody, the whole world is always at Rosanna. And so a few weeks later they mailed us and asked if Philip and me would like to take this project into our hands, and we said yes. And so we booked a room in the courtyard of Rosanna Orlandi in Milan, which is a very small little gallery. Because we felt the smaller the better. Because all these products are always shown, Samsung and all the others, in enormous hangars. Small phones are shown in enormous hangars with very big screens and lots of light and sound and so on. And it's not really interesting for design connoisseurs, because in the end you have this little phone. So what the hell, to have this all this drama and all this money. So we went the other way around. We said, let's be very, very intimate, let's do it very, very small, let's be very discreet, let's just let the public see how well this is designed, and how well the color ranges are designed, and how well the textile is used. And so I sent them this old text and also pictures. I had made a book in 1998 on this software, and I sent it a PDF, and Ivy said, I remember that book you made, and it's true, it's exactly what we are doing now. It's the perfect word for what we're doing. So they allowed me to make this strange thing where I could redo the photos. So we had the old audiovisual and the new audiovisual. And we just did the photos again in the same context, but it was much easier because the garments are there now, the pajamas are there, and the hoodies are there, and the pantoffels are there, and the slippers, and everything's soft. So the ceramics are round, everything is tactile. So now it was much more easy, obviously, than to do it the first time around. But the ingredients are the same, just very nice people, brothers and sisters, people working together, people lounging together, a dog, a cat, a plant, life. Life together, being together at home, working together, working in a horizontal situation, which is very much now the case. Wherever there is a bench, you see somebody working. So it's very cute. And so we started to think, how are we going to show these small things? How are we going to put that across? And as often in my work, I was visited by a thought, because I don't have to think myself, you know, it sort of flies into my brain. And so I thought, Kiki is making these amazing textiles. So I have one myself of her first series. And she's going to explain you later how that works, you know, how she is doing these amazing wall hangings. And I felt that it would be possibly a very good idea to illustrate software and to illustrate smart objects using textile, with textile. So we sent the images of the first pieces she did to Google and said, what do you think? Is this a good idea? And they really liked it. They have taste, as you can see. And which is rare in that world, I can tell you. And so Kiki started to design the different rooms and the house itself and the rooms with the different computers and phones and earphones and so on. Photo camera and so on. And you will see later on, there's the exhibition here, from Milan to the Kazerne. Thank you very much, Annemon. It's an honor to be in the almost finished design hotel. So I'll show you maybe a few of the pictures, because we have an audiovisual here. So this was the pictures, where you still see, was very textile driven. I don't know if I have sound. Do I have sound? Okay. Then already dogs were very much in fashion. And then there was a playfulness about computers, which we have lost in the meantime. There was a lot of sort of design-driven computers and claviers then. Already sort of conversations on, still with wire, but you know, completely on the move. Unfortunately, this person is not with us anymore. And we still had floppies, remember? So that makes it so nostalgic, right? But it's not so long ago, it's only 20 years ago. It's fun. We thought of it as a very fertile trend, very elegant and tactile, very intimate, and also linked to everyday life. So, you know, doing work while you're cooking, which is what we now all do, or listening to music, listening to music while you do the dishes. Having the book and the coffee table book and the computer book. Having socks and throws and sort of close to pyjama type of loungewear. Eating from the pan, being together as a group, and so and so. Sort of smart. In that period we had clothes which were quite techno. With techno materials, baby. Already then we wanted to promote the idea that men and women were somehow becoming one, like more comrades than partners, floating into each other. I don't remember what we wanted to say with this apple. It's a bit strange, this photo. We showed a lot of textile because that is my profession as well. Then, of course, the idea of the bike in the house and the sneakers. All these photos look very contemporary. You don't see that they're 20 years old. So this is how we redid that same thing. So their new pocketbook, phone, and of course working in bed and being together in bed and binging on series, as we do now. And of course, sound, very important. The little camera, which can help you make pictures of your environment, the new phone. This was so cool. The boys were actually, the models were laying like this with their own phones. And I suddenly surprised them and I said, put the other Google stuff, because this is the perfect way of lounging. Because if we would put them, it would not be as, relaxed. They are almost horizontal. So this also implies furniture, which is chaise longue and bedding and soft mattresses and so on. Lots of pillows. Again, this idea of the complicity and exchange between partners. The virtual world is added to this idea. This is a device where you put your phone in so you can have 3D films. A bit of folklore. We believe folklore will become a very big trend, so here's a bit. The pyjama has a nice little ribbon, like a little folklore ribbon. We found this new sort of TV plate set to make food sort of in little bits and pieces. The same fridge was still there, so still serving. Kids. The tactility is explained by the softness of the egg box and the softness of the plant. So we somehow inspire the idea that your eyes can sort of give you the feeling. This intimacy, and the mushrooms are there to say that maybe sometimes, it's a bit hallucinating if you want. This was so fantastic. In the shopping, an assistant had bought the asparagus, and they had exactly the right rubber in the right color of the device of Google. So bingo, fantastic photo. We still were doing the dishes. This time the baby is with the father, no longer with the mother, because now it's the fathers taking care. So that's a big change in society in 20 years. Because now fathers take care of babies, and therefore they change very much. They take care of education, they take care of transportation, and they therefore are more open for emotion and softness and tenderness. And we see therefore that the young men are changing very, very much. The little monkey is handling the goodies, and so on and so on. So it's basically a repeat, but it has more contemporary aspects. It has Birkenstocks, and it has portable lamps, and it has a knitwear. We evoke the idea of meditation also with these tools, which many people do. They use their phones to guide them in the meditation road. The couple is very much together. The clothes are obviously sort of a new sort of clothes, which have no name in society, but which I dubbed Softwear then, which I still think is a great name. Very cute dog. Look, completely involved. We had a lot of fun, you can see it. Children, and then a bit sharper with more dark colors and black, which in a way looks not as contemporary as the soft colors, strangely. It looks more like we know. But it has become a reality, and it's fun for me to see this, that we need a quarter of a century for things to actually become realistic. And I know that this is true because we did forecast 25 years ago for the year 2020, and this was for the Brabant Ministry of Public Transport. And we made a book which was based on insects, so all the different mobility things were insect driven. But before we made a survey of the future as we could see it 25 years ago. And the title was Fusion, wherein we say that basically everything which we then saw as a contrast now becomes one. So that the things are new hybrids which are bringing these things together. And in the year 2020 I'm going to show this to the general public, and it's pretty amazing how precise it is. Almost every other word, every other image, every other thing is there. So it's absolutely possible to work on long term, but it's because of the slowness of these trends that this works this way. So when I asked Kiki to think about the wall hangings, she was very enthusiastic, and I love working with Kiki because it's very enlightening and it's very light and simple to cooperate. So we had a lot of fun. She had a lot of research to be done because she needed to have all the colors precise. That was, of course, a big important point. So can you explain this, how it works?
Yeah, as Lidewij explained, I've done these type of techniques in textile already for quite a long time. I actually graduated in the year 2000 from Design Academy Eindhoven with a carpet called It's a Doll's World. What I did there is that I researched Victorian dolls' houses and found out that the textiles in these dolls' houses were many times cutouts from carpets of our world that were placed into a doll's house. And then I thought, when you scale this up to a human size, you get a very thick, big carpet. So for that project, I've invented a technique myself. And that was my first project in textiles, actually. It became quite well known straight away because it traveled to different exhibitions throughout the world and got already quite a lot of publications. And then I decided for a few years to not work into textiles anymore because I was always the girl of the carpet. And I wanted to show to the world that I was also capable of other designs. But then after some years, I can't recall exactly, maybe Caroline knows. Caroline here in front is from the Textile Museum. I work with her for a long time already. I was wondering what my first time was that I was working at the Textile Lab, maybe 10, 15 years ago? Yeah, maybe 15 years ago, yeah. So I got to know the Textile Lab of the museum, which is there for people who don't know it to experiment with techniques in textile. Either it's jacquard weaving, embroidery, knitting, all kind of things. It's fantastic because you are very free to experiment. It's only there to experiment and not to make thousands of meters. So at a certain point I started developing wall hangings. The first series, where you have one from, I guess it's maybe the family house that you have, the blue one?
I have the one with the check, the little house with it.
Yeah, I did a series of very iconic houses made of textile cuts. I cut all small pieces in textile and I designed the wall hangings like this big. So it was a series of houses. One is an iconic holiday house, the other one is an iconic family house, a city house, a farmhouse, and so on. I cut little pieces of textile and I illustrated the houses with that. That's what I photographed, and then I translated that into jacquard weavings. So in the textiles I cut, there were knittings, there were weavings, there were felts, all kind of different structures and reliefs. So that's one that Lidewij has and that she had to think of for this project. I guess because they feel very human and soft. They are made mainly out of mohair wool and then combined with all different kind of yarns to get interesting structures. So when Lidewij asked me for this project, I was really relieved to hear that the tech company was so much into human products. In my opinion, most of the tech products look really cold and kind of unhuman, and I'm absolutely not attracted to these kind of things. That's also why I don't care which kind of car I drive, because I think practically, except from the old ones, they are all ugly. So I don't care. And that was the same with my phone. I think up till this project, all the phones, they look quite boring and unhuman. So I really like the idea that Google was working on this human translation, because you don't want to have your house surrounded by cold products that you have to live with together. So yeah, I was really open to it from the first moment. And also because I believe that you should use tech not as an end goal, but as a tool. We can't miss it out of our lives anymore, but I still think we still need to learn how to live with it together and to not make these machines run your life, but to still keep above them. But if you do it in a balanced way, I think it's all about balance, I think then there's nothing wrong with it and it can be of good help for you. So for example, the Google speaker box, the round one, you can even talk to it. You can say, "Hi Google, what time it is?" And so it's also very appealing to kids, and it has this very soft appearance because of the textiles and also the kind of candy-like colors. So Lidewij and I brainstormed together what I should do for the wall hangings, because the wall hangings should have this very warm, soft and human feeling, but are at the same time illustrations and highlights of what this Google project is about. So I started to cut and paste from different textiles that I have in my own archive. I have a huge cabinet at home, which comes from an old museum in Leiden, where they used to store butterflies and all kind of things like that. All the little drawers. It's full of different textiles, from lace to felt to jacquards to checks and so on. So I started to combine the ones of myself with the ones of Google. Google sent me the original Google textiles that are used for the tech products. And I just started to play around. When I do these type of works, I need to be alone. I cannot work in the studio with people around me, because in a way it's very autonomous works for me. Same as when I do paintings, I have to do it all on my own. So I did this at home. I have a small atelier at home next to my studio where I have to do these kind of things. And it's also really kind of relaxing and almost meditative to work on these small puzzles. So I cut the Google products from the textiles they sent me, and I illustrated them in a kind of naive and very simple way. But at the same time, you immediately see it's the Google product, and the rest around it, the environment I made. So maybe a place in the kitchen, a place on the floor with a rug where 2 phones are laying down. Oh yeah, yeah. This one is the kitchen. It's kind of a modern still life, and then you see in the front you see a speaker box of Google, because what we always do at home, I have a family with kids. We cook together, the kids are helping us with cooking, we put on some music, sometimes we make pictures of each other, so there's a small video called clipping camera on the top that you can clip on, so you can be very active in making pictures. I hardly ever make pictures of my kids with my good camera. I always use my phone because I want to be in the moment, especially when you have small kids. You don't want them to pose. It should be just a very natural thing. So this is there to illustrate, and you can already see that I worked with a lot of different reliefs and structures. I want to invite you all later after the Q&A to come with us, to go into the exhibition, to really see them, and maybe also touch them. Normally you are not allowed to touch things when you go to an exhibition, but if you're careful, just for now you can. What should I say more?
Well, it's amazing that, for instance, a little bit of lace can become very big flowers. So it's if you see it in real. Well, the problem is with photos is that they become flat again. So in fact, you don't see it really well in photos.
Yeah, you should go and see in real, because
You
what
can
I
only see it in real.
Yeah, because what I did is I made these small collages with the Google fabrics, and then I photographed it and blew it up like almost 100 times. So that makes you see in real even more the structure of the Google pattern, the Google textiles, because in real they're very small, micro and refined, very beautiful. But if you look at the wall hangings, you zoom in and you focus more on the actual technique and relief. This time at the museum, I worked with a different technician to develop the textiles. Normally, I used to work with somebody else, and this was for me a new person. And the person was highly technical, and actually you can see that in the end result. They don't feel technical, but you can see, if you know my previous works, that I even went a step further in material combinations, in reliefs, and in structures and tactility, which is interesting for me, because in a way you could call this a commercial project for Google, but it really didn't feel like that for me. It really felt like a very autonomous work, and it really also attributed to my own personal development as a textile designer. So I'm very grateful that I was invited to do this. You see, there is also on the right, it's an old doll of Lidewij. It's, what was it? It is a sheep. So we also send back and forward personal items that I integrated in these things. The little stool is inspired on something I have in my own home from a flea market. This is the black and white room, the sleeping room. Actually, I did a project for Hastings in the beginning of the week where we claimed that it's not very healthy to work in the bedroom and that the tools should go out of the bedroom. But for sure, you can also use your laptop not to work, but to meditate, as Lee is saying, or use a speaker box for some relaxing music.
It has your little lamp also.
Oh yeah, the white ceramic, no, it's not ceramic here, but the white lamp is representing my soft lamp. In the exhibition here, I also put some personal stuff next to the stuff that Philip and Lidewij selected, so that there are some soft ceramics of me, a little rabbit from my home, some shells, some personal things.
You made it more naive.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. And this, we thought we should also make one house next to the rooms, because this could be the house where all the people were living. But at the same time, it's a link to San Francisco. This is inspired on modern San Francisco architecture, which is actually really beautiful. And this could be the house where Google is situated.
So we are open for questions, if you have any.
No questions?
Hello. What do you think? What the future of electronics? What to expect of this kind of stuff?
Well, we had a discussion in Milan about the future of this type of smart stuff, together with a guy from the Future Lab in London and Ivy and myself. And he saw the whole thing as a very scary thing, as sort of the enemy. She obviously sees that there is other possibilities and very human possibilities as well. It will be very important in the future that we, as a public, engage ourselves not to be carried away, I think, with the possibilities, because they will open so many psychological tools, health tools. Already there is, but that will go very far, I think. So it is the question, do you want to be lived or do you want to live? I think it's already now a very big challenge. not to be, you know, once you are in a series, you cannot stop. So it's all drugs in a certain way. The phone certainly is a very important drug. And it's very dangerous for young kids, of course, for babies. So that should be, I think, also regulated. But the main ideas which really came out of that discussion, which I find important, is the fact that our smart tools are making us more open to communicating without tools. So I think that there is a real increase in telepathy. And when I say this in internationally lectures, people also in all countries say, yeah, it's true. I think about my son in London and he phones, you know. So there somehow it develops more this capability we have. And so maybe in the future we are able to communicate without tools. That would be ideal, obviously. Cheap also. But maybe also dangerous, because you think something bad of somebody and then they know it or something. I don't know. I don't know how to think about it. And importantly, we also hit on the idea of biotech to be involved in this industry. Because in the Second World War, they used cactus plants to how do you say, communicate formulas for the army. So somebody in America would hypnotize a cactus and put a code in, and somebody here could take the code from the plant. That's a well-known fact. And now we have seen data that, for instance, the forest floor, the roots of trees, are able to communicate much better than we can communicate with our tools. So it's outdoing the smart tools, the internet. And it has possibility to warn, it has possibility to send microbes, to send scents. So there is moments that the tree suddenly will sort of sprout some odor to say to the others, there is an insect coming, or there is a plague coming, or there is a fungus coming. So apparently that there's going to be very, very developed studies.
Yeah, that's called bioneurology, and they are quite far in researching that.
And I think that if we use biomimicry or bio-inspiration, that we might also create better products somehow, or more essential. I don't know exactly, more about survival, or in any case, it's going to be quite a revolutionary in the end, I think. But we speak again about 20 years later. I think it will take a long time.
Thank you for your lecture. Kiki, I have a question for you, because I heard you say that when you're talking about artificial intelligence or robots or whatever, that we as humans should be above that. Now we know that artificial intelligence or robotics or whatever have some kind of capacities that go beyond what we can do and go very fast. What does that mean to your work?
At this moment, not so much yet. I don't know how it will develop in the future, but could be that we should consider it as a partner. But so far, I prefer to use it only as a tool and not as the boss of the company.
I think it's very, very dangerous. I am already confronted with the loss of clients in Japan, because fashion companies, they fired all their designers, and now the clothes are designed by artificial intelligence. So that means that the data is coming from the market, and the data is saying many men are now having flower shorts or something, and so they will make more flower shorts. And it's a bit sick because we already did that ourselves. Let's say that the design of the last 10 years has been lobotized and robotized and has been managed by marketing, asking designers to do the same and 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 the same. So in fact, maybe it will not even make such a difference. However, it's going to cost us our jobs. And this is true in design, it is true in the medical world, it's true in the juridistic world, so we will have massive unemployment. And that is going to create, I don't know, civil wars and horror stories. So we need to find a new scenario where we keep at bay part of this direction. And where we invent new ways of making, which is made by hand, because this is the only thing which can save us, I think. The 1% will use these tools for sure, because they will become richer, even more than the trillions they have now. And my quest is going to be the survival of the human species, but I think it's going to be fine.
Shall I ask, speak loud? I have a question on this. I see all the developments, the technical developments, etc. And the question that I have, what do you see in terms of development of awareness of human beings themselves? And awareness, I mean, what you said about the 1%. I see that there are a lot of developments happening, and I feel that humans need to take their own responsibility in terms of what is it that we want to do with all the possibilities that we have. And you see a sort of a polarization happening, and I feel that there's a need of awareness, personal awareness of people, and I was just wondering what you see in that area in terms of development of awareness.
There's not enough awareness.
I know, but I was hoping you would say something else.
Especially also in the Netherlands, because I don't live here anymore for a long time. This country is, of course, unbelievable. You know, this is the best country almost in the world to be, together with Scandinavian countries and so on. So it's really a proof that you can have a social regime, and that you can take care of everybody, and that there's no beggars or almost none in the streets and so on. And that everybody can live the way, you know, the rich way this country lives. It's unbelievable. Also, it's clean, which in Paris it's not clean. You know, I was in the Netherlands a bit more than recently. I was really impressed, let's say, by the result of this country. But that also means that you don't see the problems, because it's too good here. So you don't really realize how bad it is in the United States. That we are on the brink of civil war for sure. That you don't see that that the planet by 2040 is gone. I mean, it's beyond rescue. So that is 20 years from now, and we don't have the skills, and we don't have, you know, we're not far enough in the research to do it. So the individual person will have to do a lot to make this happen. And I think awareness is hard to create if there's so much happiness and well-being, in a way. I feel that other countries are much more aware. Here, even the government, it's like they only say, we are going to speak about the environment. It should be the #1 issue already for a while. And everybody says Netherlands is a water country. Well, the Rhine now is so low that we cannot transport anymore. So now suddenly all the transport is going to go on the road and on the trains, which is damaging for the environment. But the fact that even in this country there is not enough water, wake up, no? Wake up. And everybody was happy with this very long summer of 7 months or whatever it is. And it's super scary. So I don't know how to wake up people. I'm trying already for a long time to do my best, and we have little results. We have really people who change in the anti-fashion movement. There is really people who start to do things in a new way. We have to invent everything anew, everything. So we need to find a new economy first, because the way we are imprisoned by our economic system, I think, is really the big bad guy. Let's say, this is what makes the world no longer livable. And the lobbies, all these guys, they say it will last my life. They have grandchildren, they don't give a shit, they just want to fill those pockets more and more. And that will have to somehow be returned. But there's nobody who is really telling us how can we go from this economy to this new economy. Now, how do we go from this one to this circle economy? What are the bridges? How do we bridge? And so I'm sometimes mildly optimistic, but often also desperate, especially at this point. When I go to the United States, it's dire. People cannot talk anymore. It's the Tower of Babylon. People cannot talk anymore. And people cannot talk anymore between luxury and volume, and people cannot talk anymore between healthy and naughty. I mean, it's bizarre. It's sort of an escalation of patriotism and nationalism and fascism and cultural fascism, and it's everywhere. But you don't feel it in the Netherlands.
Thank you.
The hospitals are...
It's closing, yeah, I saw that last night, yeah. At the same hand, the hospitals here are so amazing, and the treatments are so amazing, If you compare that to other countries, again, it's top. But there's things to be done still in this country, of course. But always compared to others, it's quite unique, I think.
And is Google maybe able to help you with this awareness?
I'm not sure if I can...
Oh, I can repeat. I asked
if Google is able to aid in the awareness.
Exactly, because it's such a big company.
I wouldn't want to work with such a big company. I think more of a sort of human chain of events, human to human to human to human. We do seminars with anti-fashion in Marseille every beginning of June, where we get together people. It's for free to speak about the future, for instance, of textile and fashion. I know that the young students are no longer accepting the rules of our old society, so that gives hope, because they say we don't want to pollute, we don't want to use plastic, we don't want to use this, and so there is a greater awareness in the youngest generation. Only last week in France, 10,000 students signed a manifesto in the biggest schools, like the economic schools and the political schools, that they are no longer going to work for polluting companies. So they're taking a stand. We haven't seen that before. So there is these pockets of hope, that you think, oh, these kids which were against the weapons in Washington, when you see them talk and they're 12, 13 years old and they're quite amazing, they call themselves the great generation, you think, oh, maybe, maybe there is a growing... These kids are born after 9/11, so they're born in shit for shit all the time. because we have never recovered from 9/11, in fact. So, and the war which was then declared falsely. So these kids, they might be an answer also. They say, we will clean up your mess, thank you very much. So?
I got a question about the materialization of technological devices, like you describe it. Like we came from this 90s vision of a weird keyboard, which is ergonomic and it looks all kind of funky, and people would see that as, that's technology. So you see a phone and you think, wow, that's technology. You see a speaker and you say, that's technology. But now, I come from a tech background and my house is filled with technology you do not see. And this is where you guys come in and you make this technology blend into our lives. But I think this creates a new problem that people, when I invite people to my house, I walk through the door and I say, Alexa, I'm home. And she turns on my lights and she plays some music. People find that really scary because they don't see that speaker. They think, huh, there's a speaker there. Oh, does it listen all the time? But you don't see it. If I show people my phone and say, look at my house, my dog is doing this because there's a Nest Cam pointed at my couch and you see him chewing away at your new blanket you just bought, people think that's really scary. And I have all kinds of technology that's not visible. And we achieved like integrating technology into our lives, but not like the human part of it for accepting it. Is that like a new thing that designers need to create, and that Google needs to learn that these, or Amazon or Apple, or doesn't even matter for that fact, but how do we get people on the same path as technology is now? Because people are actually scared of things they do not understand.
But I think the Google products are not hidden at all. You see them really clearly.
Yeah.
They are just integrated because of the materialization and the soul.
Yeah, but it's not like the visibility in its design. It looks really good, but it's not as recognizable anymore
as high tech.
As high tech. So people do not expect the high tech.
I don't think we feel it. The whole idea of high tech also is. It's just tech.
I know.
So, yeah, it's no longer high, right?
But why are people
It's
scared
low
of it?
tech more.
But maybe it's more the way you use it, that you have everything controlled by your machine. And personally, I don't do that. I don't have a video on my house, and I don't have a door that opens automatically. I just go to the door myself. I have a very old-fashioned bell from 200 years ago. So maybe it's just that everybody, what I said before, that people need to learn themselves how to get in balance with it and to make your own decisions, what you think is well-being for you and your friends or not. I think, yeah.
Many scenarios say that ultimately we will have chips in our brains, and that in the Googling you don't have to Google anymore because your brain is automatically connected to all this information. That's possible that some people will do that, of course. But at the same time, I think that there is enormous backlash, that there's enormous awareness growing now that people want to have less tech and to be able to get away from it. There's also many of the founding fathers of all this technology which are now saying, listen, it's dangerous, it's a drug, it's written like a drug, it's written to, like the whole like system, it's really made on a system which drugs do in our body. So the awareness is growing that we are had, by the system. And I think that's good, because then we can then say, no, I'm going to use this when I need it, and I'm not going to use it when I don't. So I think there will be a growing sort of mastering of the systems.
Yeah. So, yeah.
But that, again, is going from the scenario that humans are going to defend our own species, which I believe we will do in the end, but will we do it enough and in time? That's the big question.
Thank you.
Yes?
I was wondering, you now, in the images you've shown,
Yeah.
in the images you've shown so far, you clearly see the embedding of textiles and fabrics into technology. How do you see it the other way around? Technology more embedding into textiles and wearables?
Yeah, I think it will grow as an idea and as a system. It will be used, I think, a lot in theater and dance and people making their own sounds and so on, participating. And it already is there, you know, but it will grow, I guess. I'm not so convinced in the use of a denim jacket which is going to, you know, feed my phone, honestly. It's always sort of, these products never work. It never works, already for years. And so it's a wishful thinking, I think. And it's fun because then it gets, you know, a lot of press and the dress which lights up and whatnot, you know. But then this dress will never really go to the Oscars or something. But the fashion is very old-fashioned also in textile.
Last question?
With devices like the Google Home or the Alexa, we already see that we communicate to technology the other way around. We just talk to them like they're a friend or someone in the home. Do you think that technology in the end will communicate with us differently instead of like the old computers, you ask it a question and it gives you an answer or it solves a solution, a question or whatever. Do you think that now it's more like someone who lives in your home as well, that it will communicate with people differently as well?
Certainly they will learn the tools to sort of pre-think for us, pre-service if you want. And then we can decide if we like that, yes or no. But they will work in those directions, I'm sure. Yeah. That's with the algorithms, of course, you know, they will understand you so much that possibly it understands you better than you yourself. So it's going to offer things. And maybe things you cannot resist, I don't know. Possibly.
Well, I think we need to finish because Kiki needs to go.
Yeah, first we'll go together to the exhibition space.
To the exhibition, it's through the hallway and then you'll find it. I want to say thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And the exhibition is not only here during the Design Week, it will stay until January, February. So please feel free to visit us every day because we're open every day.